I would really like to think if I hadn't seen my son in 10 years and I finally sat down at a table across from him and had the opportunity to say anything, I think I probably would have said something other than, "You've gotten big." But I'm also not a psychopath or a serial killer, so I guess I can't really relate to Dexter. Here we are talking about Dexter New Blood, episode 2, with the very interesting title, Storm of, which is a very Deb-like title. In this episode, there's really 3 main stories that are occurring that we weave in and out of throughout the episode. So I'm going to cover those 3 individually and give you my thoughts on the episode at the end of the video. So the primary focus of this episode is the relationship between Dexter and Harrison. We have Harrison trying to understand where his father has been all these years and why his father left. And as the episode progresses, we have Dexter wondering if his son shares the same dark tendencies as himself. Of course, the episode kicks off with this really awkward dinner table conversation between Dexter and Harrison, where Harrison is trying to understand how or why his father left, and Dexter is trying to figure out what a normal person would say to their son in this situation. They don't really get anywhere in the conversation. Dexter promises to pick it back up at a later date, and they go to bed. They really don't finish that conversation until the end of the episode. But before they get to that, we see a lot of different interactions and conversations between the two throughout the episode. And one of the more interesting ones to me was after they had drugged the deer back to Dexter's cabin. Dexter's apologizing to Harrison that he has to get caught up in all of this search and investigation into this missing Matt character. And Harrison says, "This is actually pretty cool." And this gives us this really long stare from Dexter, as I'm sure he's wondering what exactly Harrison meant by that. Pretty much immediately after that scene, we have Dexter and Harrison feeding Dexter's goats, and then the kids from school show up, and Dexter is telling Harrison, "Hey man, you can just go stay inside the cabin. I know how hard it is to meet new people and talk to new people." And Harrison's clearly not on the same page or having the same issues as Dexter, as he just simply walks up to these kids and introduces himself and seems to hit things off pretty well. And we see the branching out of a new little side story occurring here, as Harrison seems to be building some type of relationship with Audrey, which is of course Angela's daughter. And towards the end of the episode, they do come back to the conversation where Dexter tells Harrison, "Ask me anything you want." And Harrison, of course, wants to know, "Why did you leave?" And Harrison brings up a note that he found that Dexter had sent to Hannah, where Dexter told Hannah that if Harrison ever starts to show some dark tendencies, to be sure to find him. And Harrison wants to know what this means, understandably. So Dexter kind of tells him the truth, but not the entirety of the truth, when he tells him that he has some demons and he feels that he's a bad person. And Harrison's basically like, "Hey man, you need to cut yourself a break. I'm sure you're not that bad of a guy." And they pretty much wrap things up with these two, with Harrison saying he's gonna go ahead and stay and give Dexter a chance. Dexter's gonna get him enrolled in school, so we'll see where this goes. Would you look at the time? You have made it halfway through this episode, which tells me that you are statistically different. By that I mean that, generally speaking, people don't watch more than half of videos that are made and put out on YouTube, which is weird. What is up with our attention spans? But not you. You've made it. You're special. You're part of the halfway club. Probably need to come up with a better name for that. But since you're still here, I wanted to thank you for being here. It would mean a lot to me if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel. It will help me immensely. That's enough here. Let's get back to Dexter. And the other primary story in this episode is this search for this wealthy man-child Matt Caldwell, which of course Dexter killed in the last episode. And things seem to start off pretty spicy when the police come rolling up into Dexter's camp, right after Dexter's having to cover up some blood tracks that he had missed from the night before. And it looks like he's already in trouble, but then we learn that Angela just wants to use his location because he's centrally located around these forests in which they are going to conduct their search. Dexter, of course, wants to do what Dexter does and get involved and offer to help, but really just wants to go cover up all the evidence, maybe plant some new evidence so that the cops will not be on to him. He and Harrison get on his all-terrain vehicle and head out to the site where the white deer was killed. After they get there, Dexter sends Harrison back and begins to cover things up and make it look like Matt had killed this thing, realized it was illegal, and fled the area. We spend pretty much the rest of the episode as the cops are wandering around, basically following all of Dexter's breadcrumbs, and they eventually make the determination that, yep, Matt killed this thing and he fled the area, so we're gonna stop searching for him. And just as you feel that that story is over, Matt's father, Kirk, shows up and demands that the search continues and that they're a small town. They need to pull together and they need to help him out. So they decide to go ahead and search all night. And at this point, the episode ends. The camera pans down beneath the fireplace where they're having this conversation. And of course, we see the remains of Matt and his gun that Dexter had placed there the night before. I kind of didn't want to spend any more time on this Matt Caldwell thing, but they needed a way to keep Kirk Caldwell involved in the story. At least I think that they needed to because of a theory I'm going to get into here in a few minutes. And the last thing that we see in this episode, and we see very little of it, but it's going to become a major plot point for this show moving forward, and that is these missing girls. There are a few short clips where we see the girl from the first episode that appeared to just be passing through the town, and Angela gave her some money and recommended a place that she needed to stay. Well, obviously she didn't go there. She ended up in this creepy hotel-looking place, and she's enjoying some champagne and some chocolate-covered strawberries, having herself a grand old time, until it seems that she was drugged, and overnight her possessions were taken. She was locked in this place. She wakes up realizing she's trapped. She starts looking around the room, and she finally locates the camera that's been watching her all night with the very ominous words, "You're already dead." The only insight we get into who is behind all of this is a close-up shot of a man's eyeball. I believe that man is Kirk Caldwell. And again, I think that's why they're dragging out this Matt Caldwell thing, so that they can keep some type of interaction between Dexter and Kirk through the rest of the show until we see Dexter killing Kirk. That's my prediction anyway. Could be completely wrong. I honestly initially thought that the eye belonged to the billionaire Ed Olson, but it seems that he actually just came to town, and from what we gather in the first episode, these girls have been missing for a while, so I'm not sure he's involved. He may be involved to some degree, but I'm leaning more towards Kirk Caldwell than I am Ed Olson. So that's pretty much it for the recap and some of my theories for what's to come in Dexter New Blood. I really enjoyed this episode. It started to feel a lot more like the Dexter episode from the past, where Dexter does what he does and police start to get on his trail and he has to very quickly get ahead of them and outwit and outsmart them. So it was fun to see that. It was fun to feel that tension and that excitement as we worked through this episode. I'm really interested to see where this Harrison and Dexter thing goes. I don't think Harrison has these dark tendencies that Dexter has, but I guess we'll see. I feel like they're intentionally making us feel that he could, but he may not, but maybe he does, but we don't know. And I'm looking forward to the unraveling of this story of the missing girls. I hope that we start seeing less and hearing less about this Matt Caldwell thing. It would be cool not to linger on that the entire season. And that'll do it for my thoughts on this, another enjoyable installment of Dexter New Blood. What were your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. I look forward to discussing the show further with you in the future. We'll see you next time.